We're going to talk about the real reason that people form their LLCs or companies in different states. And it's not usually what I hear most of the time. When I talk to people out at conferences, events, on the street, or even some potential clients that call my law office, they think that people are doing their states of formation based on tax issues. And for most companies that are not of a huge size, those tax issues are really secondary. We'll talk a little bit about that, but there's a bigger driver of why people pick that state of formation, which we're going to get into in today's video, so that you understand why it really makes a difference where you form your LLC and why a lot of people choose to form their LLCs in states like Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming, places like that, versus perhaps where they're operating. There are real reasons to do that, and we'll jump into it. But the one that we hear a lot is tax. Everybody thinks, oh, it's some tax dodge that if I form my company in Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada, or wherever, that I'm going to avoid all these taxes. And most states have some type of tax system where they look at your assets and activities of your companies and they tax you based on that. So if you're operating in state A and you form your business in Delaware, you're probably going to still end up paying roughly the same amount of taxes to state A. And in many cases, you may not have any taxes other than filing fees and some ministerial stuff in Delaware, right? So tax-wise, for a lot of companies, it comes out tax neutral. Now, for larger companies, you potentially could do some brother-sister companies, maybe move some intangible assets, do some structuring and planning, and by doing this, maybe you could save a little bit in state taxes, and you can also do this internationally, and bigger companies get into that game as well. But for the regular companies that, are partnerships, are people that are just building businesses, are the ones that a lot of people get their hands around, the ones that are often my clients, what we're looking at when we're looking at different states is what does that corporation law allow us to do, or that LLC law allow us to do. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot more clarity and certainty, particularly around partnership agreements, multi-owner businesses, available in a state like Delaware, maybe Wyoming or Nevada, than there is in many other states. And the reason why is this. If you take a state like Delaware, they get a lot of their state revenue from filing fees between corporations and LLCs. So they want to keep that gravy train going. It's very important to them. It's a very small state too, so they have a small legislature. And if there's problems, if there's unexpected court decisions, if people need clarity around something, if a new trend in the law starts happening, people start using a different form or procedure in the legal system, those laws get amended in those small states. Versus, a Texas or a Florida where they have LLC and corporate statutes, but they don't get updated as frequently. It's not as important of a priority when there's so much other stuff going on in these big states. Also, you take Texas and Florida, they have part-time legislatures, right? So they're not meeting all the time. They're not available to do this, where some of the northern states have even more regular meetings and they have the ability to address these things. Delaware updates their statutes basically every year. So you can count on there being updates, changes, tweaks, and provisions in there. As a lawyer drafting agreements, that gives me some more certainty. And there has certainly been cases where I've had companies facing corporate decisions, dissolutions, votes, other matters where they've not been formed in one of these more developed states for business law. And we say, man, I wish they had been formed in the other state. We've actually looked at moving clients from one state to another to get some certainty around some situations, because some of these laws just don't work as well as others. Some of them don't have as much flexibility and freedom, and it really boxes us in and makes things harder. So when we're looking at this as a situation, we want to get as much flexibility as we can. Another big thing is privacy. Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada are well known for having privacy around their companies. In fact, you could form a Delaware LLC with, maybe 3 or 4 lines of text, right? Name of the company, registered office, registered agent, name of the person signing the certificate of formation. I mean, you're literally talking a couple lines of text to comply with the statute. less than half a page, you could form a Delaware LLC. Of course, you're going to want a written LLC agreement. I've done other videos where we talk about the benefits of having a written LLC agreement in addition to having a certificate of formation. But that certificate of formation, which is what the public can see, can be very short and sweet in a state like Delaware. Not a lot of information, hard to trace it. If you use anonymous names, if you have somebody file as the organizer or the authorized person for the company, that's not easy to trace back to the owners, you can get a lot of privacy in a state like Delaware. So a lot of people love that availability, right, to have that anonymity and to hide it, but also then, and that's great for asset protection, right? That's one of the main keys of asset protection. Of maybe if you're doing a deal where you don't want people to know who's involved in a deal, maybe you're setting up to do an offer on something, right? There's a lot of reasons why you might want that privacy for legitimate reasons, not illegal stuff, but just business advantage strategy, a lot more flexibility. So when I'm looking at this, a lot of times when I'm helping clients decide what state do we form in, a lot of times we're looking at things beyond the taxes, right? The taxes, like I say, for many companies, tax-wise, you're not necessarily going to save any money by moving there, particularly if you're operating in one state. You have pretty centralized operations. You don't have massive intangible assets. You don't have sister entities. If you're not doing big structuring, you're probably not going to save the taxes, but you're going to gain flexibility. You're going to gain certainty. Maybe you get a better agreement, better court system should there ever be litigation over your LLC agreements. There's a lot of reasons why you would pick to go to one of these states. If you have questions or comments, let me know. I always advise people, though, on this channel, don't put anything confidential, right? This is not an attorney-client relationship over a video sharing platform. We can't get into that kind of stuff. I just give you general ideas, things for education. But if you have comments or questions that are not confidential, not private, go ahead and drop them below. And maybe we'll do a video update if we see some questions or topics that need to be handled, because I always enjoy doing that. So thanks for tuning in today, folks. Consider subscribing, check out our library videos, and I'll see you all for another video soon.